Hi, welcome back. On this episode, we're going to fix their shifter. The splines on it, they're all wore and it's slipping. Don't forget to subscribe and click the notification button. And check me on Instagram and Facebook at Clara Garage. You can also sign up to be a member on the Clara Garage YouTube channel and get access to videos soon. Alright, so I fixed this once before. And it ended up lasting, I think, 3 years or 4 years. So we're going to fix it again. I'm going to do a similar fix to the last time, except I cut a piece of 16 gauge steel, and I'm going to notch this into the shift shaft and then weld it in place, kind of like a key. So it will line up with the groove on here, and the bolt hole to pinch the shifter will also go through there. So it should make it a lot more solid and hopefully eliminate having this issue again. So one thing that I do like to carry on trips, I've had this issue before when I was on a trip. I have a small pair of vice grips that I welded a little piece on it. So just right here. So this allows me to be able to shift. This actually ended up going on my trip last year. I was supposed to fix it a couple weeks after I got back, and I just got busy. But so I probably have about 3,000 or so kilometers on this shifter on here. It was only supposed to be like 1,000 for my trip on my way home, but it is what it is. And one thing that I did, I had the tape is actually broken now, but I did have it wrapped in tape into the shifter, so if it fell off on the highway, I would hopefully not lose it because I needed it to get home. And then I also had put electrical tape on to keep it closed. So we're going to go ahead and take this off now. This is something that's fairly easy to carry. So if you or your buddies ever have an issue, it might get you going, get you into a little safer spot than probably in the middle of the highway somewhere. So it is just a cheap pair of vice grips and a 1/4 inch dowel, and I just welded it on. Good and solid, works well. So before we take the shifter off the bikes, I'm going to take this piece off, this whole bracket, and we'll repair it and put it back on. But before I take anything off, I'm going to slip my shifter on, even though it's all loose and doesn't stay on very well. And I'm going to mark on the shift knuckle where this groove is, so I know where I want to put this piece of metal and get things lined up. And I did already find the center of this studs coming out, and I have this set right in the center. So I have half adjustment this way, half adjustment that way. So if I'm off a little bit, I should be able to make things line up nice and work out for me. So we'll slip that on. And then I usually like to ride in cowboy boots, so they typically don't need too much room underneath the shift lever. But the odd time, depending on what I'm doing, I do ride in steel toes too, which is what I have on now. So I want to make sure I leave enough room for my steel toes. So right about there would be the minimum clearance from the floorboard to the top of the shifter to fit my steel toes in. So I'm going to take a paint pen and I'm going to mark that groove. And then I'm going to take a scribe and make a little line in it once the paint dries in a minute or two. And that will give me a good marking of right where I want to work that in. Alright, so that should be dry enough, and I'll make a little mark. I'm not sure if you're able to see the little mark that I made on here, but there is a little mark there. So now we can take the shifter off. And now we can loosen this back off. I just have it hand tight. So I'll take that off. And now to take this bracket off, we're going to, underneath there's two 12 mil bolts. So we're going to undo those. And there's two 10 mil bolts for the horn. We're going to take the horn off too. This way it's not on our way. Alright, so here's our piece off. There's a little better close-up of our mark right there that we want to get this piece of metal at and notch it in. If you want to take just the shift knuckle off, all you had to do was take the rod off of here, and then, I'm not sure if you can see or not, but there's a C-clip right here. You push that off and pull it out, and then you'd be able to do your thing. Reason I'm not doing that is because if I stick to my plan of grooving this in and tacking it in place to give a little more surface area and make it a little more robust, I would be losing the ability to slide it back in. So that's why I'm going to go this route and take this whole thing off. And if for some reason I ever need to take the shift knuckle off, I will just carefully cut my welds and get this piece out and slip it out. But I don't foresee any reason why I'd ever have to do that. So I'm going to go this route and it will be good and solid for me. So it will end up being something like that, which will make it pretty solid and should work pretty well. So I'm going to, off camera, kind of prep this and get it done. And once I get this done and fitting properly, I'll test fit it, make sure I like how it fits. And then we're going to repair this, and then we'll repair this at the same time while we're at it. I never used the heel shifter, but it doesn't really get in my way, and it does add to the bike a little bit. I think it looks good. And it's nice and tiny, it looks nice. And the odd time I do wear, I've worn rubber boots when it's been really cold. And I was just going to go somewhere real quick, and it was just easier, so it gave me the ability to heel shift and toe shift down, because my rubber boots don't fit underneath the shifter because they're pretty thick soled. And then one other thing worth noting, I had it taped to here so I wouldn't lose it. There's a little plastic spacer that is supposed to sit right there, and then the shifter goes on. So we're going to slip this on before we weld this on to try to keep it the way it's supposed to be, and we'll hope that we don't get too much heat in there and melt that. So I'm going to go prep this off camera, and then before I start welding it in, I'll show you what I got going on, and we'll go from there. Alright, so we got this all ready to go. So we got our groove cut in it. I did take this apart and just a screwdriver, pop that out, and then you get it back in the groove. Just a little tap with a hammer on the C-clip, and it should slip right in. I did also take this right apart. I need a little more room for cutting my notch. And when I had it apart, I also put some Never Sees in there to ensure that it stays good, because it was a little bit rusty. And I had to use some emery cloth on the shaft, and I did a little bit of emery cloth inside the bracket to clean it up so it moves nice and smooth. And then this is going to be our piece here. It's just a little bit longer than the shaft, so it'll give me some nice room to grind it down and make it look nice and flush, like it's not even there. Alright, so we're going to get our shifter on, and we know that this groove lines up with this groove here, so we'll shove that on all the way so it's testing that rubber. And then we're going to take our metal keyway, that's a little over exaggerated there, and shove that on. So now you can see that's what that looks like. There's a little bit of trimming that needs to happen, but it's going to work out good. And then we're going to have to re-drill our hole, but that's okay too. That'll help add to keeping everything together. And we're going to hold this where we nice and tight, where it lines up good, and then we're going to do a little tack or two in here, and then we can take our shifter off and we can weld the rest of it up. We'll have to grind our welds a bit, and then we can move on to the next step, which is fixing the actual aluminum. We got that in. Get some safety glasses on, turn our gas on. Alright, we got that tacked in place. So now we should be able to pull our shifter off, and we should be able to weld the rest of this up, and it should be where we want it. But we will go each side so we don't shrink the steel and make it so things don't line up. So we'll weld that up, and then we'll be able to fix the shifter. Alright, that's all welded up. We're going to grind it down. It's going to take a little bit to get it nice. I'm going to use the Dremel, so it's going to take a while, so I'm going to do it off camera. Alright, so we got that piece welded in there nice. Got it all cleaned up. And we got it fitting. So we can see just the way it is now. It's nice and tight. It's not going to slip anymore. So off camera, I ended up drilling this out a little bit bigger just to kind of clean it up to give me a little bit better surface to weld on. And we're going to do the same to this one. So we're going to pull this off, and we're going to weld both of these up at the same time. I'm going to mark out where the angle that it's at. You can kind of see it basically running straight along with this. And then I'll get that ready too, because we're going to fill up inside of here with weld, and then we're going to take a drill bit just a little bit smaller than the shaft, and we're going to drill it out, and then we're going to hammer this on. Since this is steel and this is aluminum, when we hammer it on, it should make new splines in the aluminum. I've done this before, and it lasted 3 or 4 years. So that's why I put this tab on this time, so it should last hopefully forever. And this one that I never use is super loose. Just from on the bike vibrating for 204,000 kilometers, it takes its toll. So it's getting to the point where it would probably start slipping if I started to use it within a short amount of time. So it's just an 8mm bolt. So we'll take that off. Make sure we mark where it was. If you don't mark where it was and you put it on, you don't like where it is, you can just take it off and put it back on. So I'm going to go off camera, and I'm going to drill this one out too to get ready to weld up. And I'm also going to convert my welder over to welding aluminum, because right now it's set for welding steel. and then we'll get back at it. Alright, so I got this one done. Other than getting the splines done all the way, I started and then I stopped. I'm not sure if you're able to see them, but I went down about 1/8 of an inch. So now when I slip it on here, you can see it grabs, it bites, and it's pretty good. So I still need to hammer it the rest of the way down and make the splines all the way through. But I don't want to hammer it down and get good splines and then pull it off. I'd like to, once I get it on there, have it on there for good is the goal. So I want to finish the repair on this side before I put this one in all the way. But I do got it all cleaned up and everything. I've had the bolts through, so I know that's all still good, so I don't have to drill those holes out or clean anything up there. So it should be good to go. So now we're going to do this one. I'm going to start by welding this side. And I'm going to weld about halfway down or so. I'm going to try to avoid the groove, but if I get welded in that groove, it's not the end of the world. We can cut that out after. It's about the same thickness as a grinding disc, an 1/8 inch grinding disc. So worst case, just go through there. Either way, I'll clean that up anyways. So we're going to fill this up. I don't do very much aluminum welding, so it's not going to be the prettiest looking welds. But once we grind her down and finish it off, it'll look pretty good. So I'm just going to get in the vise, and we're going to kind of work from one side of the slot around to the other, going down about halfway-ish. And if you don't get all the way halfway, that's okay. Because when you look at this, you can see the groove where the bolt goes. There's nothing for it to bite on there anyways. You really only got to get 1/4 inch down on each side, and you'll be good to go. Alright, so let's get welding. Alright, it's a little bit ugly, but it's welded on the one side. You can kind of see how it looks on the inside there. So I'm going to grind this down so it looks nice. And we can tell, looking at it, you can kind of see this ridge here. So it kind of falls off on either side of that ridge. So we're going to try to keep that shape when we grind it. We'll keep that in our mind. And then once we kind of grind this so it sits nice, we'll go over to the drill press, and we're going to use our big drill bit, and we're going to drill down until we get rid of all that lumpy stuff in there. And we'll drill it down so it leaves a little point, because that bit's the same size as this hole right now. So it should locate the center for us where it was centered before. And then we'll go with a smaller drill bit, and we'll make a hole, and then we'll weld up this side, and then when we flip it over, we'll have a good way to locate the center, and then we can go to our final size. So I'm going to grind this up, and we'll go from there. So we're kind of halfway there. You can kind of see how it's turning out. It's looking pretty good. Alright, that's all ground down. It looks pretty good. It feels pretty good. You'll just need some fine sandpaper after and a little buff, but it'll be pretty decent. And if you don't do any of that, just your pants and your boots rubbing on it with regular driving after probably a month or two. If you ride lots, it'll probably be nice and polished up anyways, because the aluminum's pretty soft. So now I'm going to go over to the drill press, and I'm going to drill part way through with the big bit, and then I'll come back, I'll show you how it looks, and then I'll use that point to center my hole, and I'll do a smaller drill bit all the way through, weld this side up, clean it up, and then I'll be able to drill straight down and have the center located, and it should go good. I'm not sure if you're able to see, but right in the center is a little point. This is the biggest drill bit that I used. So that was located in there. So where it drilled the hole, that should be the center of the original hole, or very, very close to it. And now I'm going to drill a smaller hole through that, and then we can weld up the rest of it. Alright, so we got that hole drilled through. There it is on the other side. It turned out very nice. It looks nice and square. It looks center where it should be. And now we're going to weld up the other side, and then we'll clean that up. We'll drill our bigger hole through, drill a hole through the other side, and then we'll drill our bigger hole, and then we'll take the grinder and we'll clean up the clamp section, and we'll go from there. Alright, so we got that welded now too. And now we're going to clean it up with the grinder. So those welds look pretty good. A little bubblegummy, but they look pretty solid. And before I did this, I didn't do any practice welds or anything. The heel shifter part, that's what I used for a practice. And it turned out pretty good. Alright, we got it all drilled out. Now all we got to do is clean up our slit going into the inner hole. So I'll just be real quick with the grinder, and then we can start getting this back together. Alright, that's opened up now. So now we're going to get these two together, and then we'll get this onto the shaft, and we're good to go back on the bike. So I'm just using a soft mallet. I have this flat on the table, and I'm just going to give some wax. So as it's going in, you can see that it's making new splines. And we're going to keep going. And you can also tell it's only halfway on, and it's nice and tight. It's going to be good. Alright, that's all the way on. It looks good. Lines up pretty decent with our marking. We might be one tooth off, but it looks pretty good. Nice and tight. So now we're ready to put that bolt back in. And that was a 8mm. Alright, we got our holes all drilled out. I cleaned out and screwed in the bolt for clamping it on, and it's good to go. So the last part we have to do is get this onto the shaft, and then we got to drill our hole for the bolt to go through, because that bolt's going to go through this tab now, and then we're good to put everything back together. So I'm going to line it all up, and I'm going to start tapping it down. And I'm using a softer hammer, so I don't mark up the steel, mark up the aluminum any more than it is. So it's less for buffing and finishing work. Alright, that's all the way on now. And now I need to come with the drill and just drill that out. And when you drill it out, you want to make sure you're not drilling where the threads are. You want to drill the throat part. Alright, so we got a drill, and now we're just going to go nice and easy. Alright, so we're all the way through that plate, so now we can get our bolt back in. Alright. And then the last thing we got to do, I'm just going to clean this up a little bit. Just that it protrudes just a hair, and then we can go over to the bike and get everything back together. Alright, so I went over the front with a little bit of emery cloth, 120 grit. It was worn out, but it took any of the roughness out. Turned out pretty good. We got our bolts in on both. So now we're ready to do the reverse process of when we took it off to put it back on. So we're going to start with getting these nuts back onto these studs just loose, and then we'll get the horn on and tighten that up, and then tighten everything else up, and then it's just adjust the linkage. Alright, and now the horn. It's easier to have this flopping than to have it tightened down to get the horn on. And make sure that our horn connections are still plugged in too. I had one that came undone here. Oh, that's good now. Now we can tighten them up. Alright, and now we can tighten this bracket up. And that's our 12 mil. So now we got that attached. It's nice and solid. And now we're able to get our linkage on. Alright, our last step is to get our linkage on and adjusted. So I like to start on one end, get it so it just kind of grabs, and then go to the other end. That's maybe a little high there. That's not looking too bad there. Then I'll double check for steel toes. That could be a little higher, actually. That seems pretty good right there. So now we use the 10 and 12 mil. We tighten up the jam nuts. The 10 mil will go on the shaft, and the 12 mil will go on the nut. And then we just turn them into each other to jam it, and then it can't go anywhere. Perfect. Looks good. And that's going to be it for this video. So now our shifter is nice and tight on the splines. There's a little bit of play in the bracket, but there's nothing we can do about that. That's just wear and use. So now we should be good for hopefully another 15-20 years or more. Don't forget to subscribe and click the notification button, and check me out on Instagram and Facebook at Clara Garage. You can also sign up to become a member of the Clara Garage YouTube channel, and you get earlier access to videos. Have a great night.